This is Bronnie, every Wednesday from 6 p.m. The Bronnie Show on KCC Live.
What's up, you guys, and welcome to the Bronnie Show. I'm joined here with the very awesome Ben, aka Bleak Soul. How's it going? How are you doing?
It is going good. It is going good, thank you. I'm kind of just a mad few weeks. And yeah, I've just moved into a new house and I've just been getting into like setting up my new space. So
loving it.
All good.
I can see some plants in the background. Are you a big plant
I have so
lover?
many plants.
Loving it.
People got me like plants as housewarming gifts as well. So I just accumulated a load of plants, which is nice because I really love having them around. So.
Oh yeah, you can't have too many plants in your life. So to all the listeners, Ben has produced his debut 8-track release, Existential Meditation, in 2020. It's awesome, may I add. I love how many genres you've incorporated in the release. It's great.
Yes, I went a bit all out, just in terms of I listened to so many different things, and I hadn't worked out a way to like refine them all into one yet, which I feel like is where bands end up. Like when bands become refined, it's like all the things that they do, they roll into one. I hadn't quite, and I probably still haven't yet. So it was nice just to kind of explore them individually as territories to see which ones I like really enjoyed doing and experimenting with the most.
That's awesome. And were those songs, songs that you had written like whilst you were in As It Is, or when like afterwards, or was it just a lockdown kind of thing that you started working on?
A couple of them I'd had since I was in As It Is, that I probably had written around like time of writing the Great Depression. Mm-hmm. And then a couple of the songs actually just stem back from like literally guitar riffs that I have been like playing and trying to work out what to do with since I was like 15.
Yeah.
Do you ever get those ideas that you just still you just have never done anything with them?
I've had like 1,000 voice recordings in my iTunes library, just with like random riffs, and when I'm going out shopping, I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. So I kind of encapsulate it, kind of put those together and finally like committed, because like the opening track, Why Am I Here, must have gone through, I'm not kidding, like, I don't know, 10 different versions of that song over probably the past like 7 years.
Wow.
But I finally kind of committed to a sound. But it's funny you mentioned the voice notes, because the record that I've just finished, was literally kind of, a lot of it was going back and literally listening to all my voice notes that I'd like forgotten about and just going, is there anything in this? If there isn't, I'm just going to delete it. And if there is, I'm going to like finish it today. And that was kind of
I like that.
the vibe of it.
Yeah, and you might get some riffs or lyrics that kind of pop out to you, and you go, okay, yeah. I was watching an Alanis Morissette documentary today, and she was talking about how when she was doing the Jagged Little Pill album, she would just get her notebook with like years worth of just random sentences. And she would literally just flick through in the studio, and if there was one line that popped out to her, she'd be like, okay, right, let's just base a whole song off that. It's just so interesting.
Yeah, I love that stuff. So yeah, that was really good to like revisit old creativity to spark new creativity, if that makes sense. So totally. Leave no scrap behind. There's something in everything.
100%.
However small. Yeah.
And so you recently put out 2 singles, and your second big release of songs will be out in November to coincide with your November UK tour with Tigress.
That is the plan.
Excited are you to get back out on the road again?
Unbelievably so. It's funny because like I saw like a few comments when I announced the tour, being like, oh, left As It Is because of touring too much and now is going out on tour. And I was a bit like, in my head, I was like, there is a difference between going out for a week around the UK and going out for 7 months of the year.
Your entire life, yeah.
So I'm like really, really content with just doing it kind of when I have control over it, just for fun, treating it like the old days a bit, like where it's more of just a holiday and you play some shows.
Totally.
You know, where you don't have, it's going to be a bit like my first tour in a sense, even though it definitely isn't. Just, it's funny, like starting from scratch, because like all the guitar amps and stuff I ever used all belonged to the band. So I'm starting basically, apart from with my guitars, with like scratch. And I'm like, oh, I've got to like build myself a rig from scratch and literally going back to basics and stuff. So
well, that's awesome. And are you bringing like a backing band around you on tour, or is it? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
The vibe will be there for sure. I will definitely be at the Liverpool date.
Excellent. I look forward to meeting you properly there.
I know.
So.
Yeah, because I mean, I've been into your music for years, you know, with As It Is and now your solo stuff. So no, totally.
Well, thank you.
To finally meet you.
No, I'm kind of surprised we never have crossed paths at things. So
I know. Yeah, well, in fact, I've seen you play, you know, many a time in Liverpool, and in fact, when you guys played Warped Tour 2018, I was at the Pittsburgh date, because I was on tour at the same time, and I had a day off, so I was like, I am so going to Warped Tour because I'd never been before, so I was like,
that 2018 one was great.
So I can't, you know, not talk about the fact that you were a founding member, guitarist, vocalist, and songwriter of the band As It Is. And you've completed a lot of musicians' bucket lists, you know, headlining London's Coco, the Forum, as well as doing 2 Vans Warped tours and Reading and Leeds. Tours.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
It was funny, literally unpacking yesterday. It was like, I came across, I had like a stack of all my old tour passes that I've been meaning to like put in a frame, but it's just one of those things I've never gotten around to doing. So I probably will now, but it was like flicking through them and yeah, I can't believe some of the things that I got to do, like were ridiculous. Like one of the highlights that always stands out to me, and one of the experiences I'm like most grateful for ever, was when we just like at 3 weeks notice got asked to go out and support All Time Low in the Philippines. Wow. One show, and they flew us out for like 3 days, played one show in an arena, and then flew back, and it was mad.
It is like a little dream,
just
isn't
so
it?
Grateful that I got to do that.
Yeah, when you think about stories like that, it does sound like, oh yeah, I woke up from this dream and that happened.
Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, I'm just some kid that grew up reading Kerrang like everyone else, like, and then suddenly I'm like literally on tour with these bands that I like grew up reading about. So
that's what I love so much about the scene, is all the bands started out just like their own fans and their own music lovers, you know, reading Kerrang, dreaming about going on tour and all that, and now everyone's doing it, so it's great to see everyone do that. So tell the listeners more about yourself. So where did you grow up, where are you based now, and how long have you been making music for?
So I guess I grew up most of my formative years in Cornwall, so there wasn't any music scene at all. Anyone that lives in Cornwall will attest to that. There are just really, bands never came down there, never played. I think I saw like Block Party down there once, and then we did get the Eden sessions eventually, and the Eden sessions are cool. But I actually saw one of Amy Winehouse's last shows at the Eden sessions. But so you got a couple of good things, but in terms of like our local community scene, there weren't really a lot of venues. And I started playing drums when I was like, I don't know, 11, 12. I like fronted bands like Green Day and Blink-182 cover bands that would just like play at the school like battle of the bands. And then I actually got into being into a metal band. I was a drummer in a metal band.
Loving it.
And that's what got me into like properly wanting to be in a band. That was when we like first like recorded an EP and stuff and took it seriously rather than it just being like a school project. And then then I moved to Brighton, and I've lived there since for like the past. I met Patty, and then that was it. I stopped caring about the university and I put everything into the band. So yeah, I've always I taught myself drums and then taught myself piano and guitar just over the course. I'm not very like good at any of them, but I can write, so not technically proficient, but yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And don't you just love Brighton?
I love Brighton.
Oh
I
gosh.
literally I can't imagine moving away from here, to be honest.
I've been to Brighton once, and it was on tour with Room 94 like years ago, and it was the first city. It was the first city, and I was like, I fit in here. Like everyone's got their own like fashion sense, and everyone is just who they want to be. My drummer's from Brighton. And yeah, so I'm like, right, let's go to yours for a couple of months and just like songwrite every day in summer. Brighton, I'd love to go back and tour there again, play some shows. We played Comedia.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's an interesting venue to play as a band.
It was, isn't it like
it's a comedy club.
Yeah, it's a comedy club. Yeah. It was like, I think it was in like the smallest room, but it was packed and it was just such a good vibe. Everyone was just loving it. So it's
a cool room. I did like an art show there at uni once because it was like a super pretentious course. But that's like the only time I've ever done anything in Comedia other than go to a comedy show. So
amazing. Well, my dude, we are going to play our first game. This is Would You Rather, Musician Edition.
Would you rather? 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 Would you rather eat my shits or free?
Okay, so I'm going to have 3 Would You Rather questions. There is no wrong answer. So, number 1 is, would you rather ever play an instrument again or never sing and songwrite again?
I
know, it could be a hard one, can't it? Yeah.
Well, I just don't understand how can you write a song if you can't sing and play an instrument? Like, if you can't vocalize it and you also can't play it on an instrument, how would you express that you've written a song?
Well, you can think of the chords in your head.
There's a yeah, unfortunately that isn't just I'm probably going to have to go with writing. I would have to figure out a way to do that, however it is. But it's like it would be like having to learn an entire new language if you had to express it without an instrument or your voice. But I'd take the challenge.
Yeah, I like that. So, would you rather play sold out 50 cap rooms all over the world in crazy intimate venues, and you can play whenever you want, or play stadiums packed around the world, but you can only play 10 times a year? What are you going to go for?
I'm going to go for the stadiums there. I think that's that's, I know it's like a ballsy thing to say, but essentially, I really like, I don't know if you've ever seen Some Kind of Monster, that Metallica documentary. But like, I love the fact that they just do shows on weekends, and then they go to their families in the week. I think if you can achieve that balance where you're playing stadiums, you can just pick some stadiums, and then the rest of the time you can just write music and be with your family. That's cool. Like, don't get me wrong, love playing a sweaty club show, but with, again, my relationship with touring, I'd have to go with just the 10 shows.
And you get the good catering stuff, don't you? So, you know, it's always going to be good. No, I was, every single person has said small intimate venues, but then I did an interview with Leo, the drummer of Wheatus, and he said, "Oh, stadiums because it's more people, and then you get to have like the crazy. It's not just about the musicians; it's the whole show with it. It's stadium shows. It's a show. That's why
I love production. So like
getting that pyro.
I love putting together production and just like thinking in your head how a show is gonna look. And again, that's because I grew up going to like Panic at the Disco and Fall Out Boy shows, these like hyper theatrical like shows, and I've just always loved that element of it.
Oh, 100%. Now, number 3 this is my favorite one. You can only listen to 1 decade's worth of music forever. What decade do you think?
Oh, that is an interesting question. I'm actually going to have to go with the 2000s.
Love it.
It's because like I always toy between whether it be the 90s or the 2000s, but a lot of my favorite 90s acts kind of cross over into the early 2000s. So I'd still get some albums, maybe not the seminal albums, but I'd still get some later Alanis albums that are in the 2000s, and I'd still get some Elliott Smith records, and my favorite ones actually, and yeah, and then all the great emo. So
totally.
It's winning.
Yeah. That's why I love the 90s and the 2000s, because the 90s you had the rise of every genre: hip hop, pop punk, rock, rap, and then everything went into the 2000s, so it was still all trendy, wasn't it? Listening to all that kind of music. So what a time to be alive.
It really was a time to be alive.
Awesome.
Especially growing up in Cornwall, where you're like, literally it's like being the town emo. That's it. There's like 4 of you if you're lucky in a small town. Yeah,
it's now cool. You look at TikTok, all these trends, everyone's trying to be emo, where it's like in high school, if you were emo, it was like, who are you?
Literally, I mean, I can't talk because as I say this, I realize that I'm also going there. But there's a graveyard that I like to go and sit in that is near my where I live, that I just enjoy. It's really nice, and the amount of kind of emo clans that are kind of accumulating is literally over the past year. I'm like, wow, everywhere. Hello. It used to just be like people walking their dogs, and now it's groups of people filming TikToks. So
oh god.
Yeah. I can't talk. I literally in the past 2 days I've started posting TikToks after I said I never would to myself. So
dude, TikTok is so good. Honestly, because I thought, I was like, oh, it's an app for 8-year-olds learning to dance, and then you just meet this whole community. There's a whole emo community of people. I've actually had so many new fans from it. So yeah, I used to knock it.
You'll have to give me some tips on it, because it's a whole new world. But I think at the end of the day, and not to get like too deep about the concept of like art, but like I am also definitely, and I don't mean to be, like a bit of a snob about like the term content. So, and like where the line between like art and content is, and where my time is best spent utilized. But then it's like on the flip side of that, well, if I don't do that side of it, no one will hear what I want them to hear.
It's hard.
So,
it's what John Bellion says you have to be. It's a slave to the content beast in the like best but worst way, because it's kind of like you have to constantly be thinking of new ideas because everyone's using social media and everyone's trying to be loud as possible. And if you're not on social media, then how are new people going to find you? But then you want time to create music.
Yeah.
And so
I think that's
hard.
the thing. I also don't consider myself to, I've never had really, obviously I was in As It Is, but I was kind of in a band and did interviews, but I've never really had like, I've never been online in that way, like vlogging or doing YouTube or anything like that. I've never really been like that comfortable like sharing a lot of myself online that way. And then now it's like with again, especially with TikTok, it's like all these musicians that are like really, really funny as well. because that's what grabs people's attention. And I'm just like, am I funny? I don't think I'm funny. Should I be on this app?
So how did you come up with the name Bleak Soul?
That is a good question. I knew I wanted something that started with B.
Mm-hmm.
That was definitely a prerequisite.
Nice.
And I think I was literally just writing things down in my notes one day, and for a while I've had I always thought it was going to be the name of like an EP that I did. It was just going to be called like The Bleakness, and then I just took Bleak, and Soul just kind of made sense. It just sounded nice.
Yeah.
I am very much of the opinion that there is no such thing as a good band name, and obviously I come from a band called As It Is, which is a terrible band name, and we all know that, and we all joked about that, and yeah, I don't think there really is such a thing as a really good band name.
Yeah, it's like you see in have you watched the Foo Fighters Back and Forth documentary?
Oh yeah.
It's at the end when Dave Grohl goes, if I'd have known that we would have been this big, I would have chosen like a better band name, because Foo Fighters is like, what? But you know, I do like so some bands have like little hidden meanings behind things which don't even make sense to other people. But yeah, it's funny to I like that.
No, there are some cool ones, and there are some ones I do like ironic or like funny band names as well. But I tend not to like think about it too much. I just knew that I didn't want to like use my own name.
Mm-hmm. I feel you.
Purely because a lot of the like people that I really like are big inspirations on me use like a stage name like that, and then kind of are a band but aren't a band, or have the option to have members come in and out,
kind of like Panic at the Disco.
Panic at the Disco before he went super It's Just Me. Like when there was that slight middle period where there was like Dallin and everyone. So I think a bit more like that. I want to have a bit more freedom. Obviously, I have a live band. I'm very excited to have a first rehearsal next week. So
exciting! So is that going to be your first rehearsal since As It Is, with like a full band?
Yeah.
God, that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Your soul.
It will be my first actual proper rehearsal, as in like rehearsing songs. I cannot remember the last time that with As It Is we had a rehearsal where we like rehearsed songs. They were all just like production rehearsals, and the songs came secondary. First show of tour is always the first rehearsal for us musically, or the first sound check.
Oh yeah. It's always
because
like, oh God, right, this
all our rehearsals were basically just rehearsals for our sound guy, to set up all the gear and make sure everything's working. And we never really got to like practice.
So now I like to do a little section every week, and I like to ask my guest what their song of the week is. So this could be your favorite ever song, a song your favorite song growing up as a kid, a song that just really inspires you, that you've just been jamming to a lot recently. So what is going to be your song of the week?
Song of the week, song of the week.
Song of the week. That is an interesting question. It's funny. I just did a TikTok about a song that I never get sick of.
Oh, nice.
And I said in that it's a band called The Microphones. They put out a record for their first in like 16 years called The Microphones in 2020. And it's kind of cheating as an answer because the song is like 44 minutes long, and it is him. Wow. It's him just talking through his life, because he's been in like Mount Erie and done a bunch of like musical projects, and it's just him. I mean, the first 7 minutes is just like essentially like one, I think maybe two chords for like 7 minutes, but it's one of those like songs where you just like completely get lost in it.
It's the best song.
And I cannot even describe how many times I've listened to that 44-minute song. So
let's flash forward. You're 18. You're looking back on your life. So what are some of your biggest and most favorite milestones of your music career?
Recording The Great Depression with Machine is probably like my favorite standout moment, getting to work with Machine and just the whole process of like creating that record and the feeling of like how proud we were when we'd done that. I feel like when I look back at like one of my favorite shows, when we got to do main stage at Slam Dunk.
Oh yeah,
that is like a big one for me, because we'd literally climbed the stages like year by year. I think that was the 4th year we'd done it, and it was like we opened the pop punk stage, and then we were middle of the day, and then we headlined it, and then we got main stage, and it was literal like this perfect climb, and then getting to finally do the main stage felt so good, because I've been going to that festival for like years before that as well. So yeah, always, that one's always had like special place in my heart.
Very sentimental, yeah.
Yeah. So I absolutely cannot wait for it to happen in September. I'm looking forward to getting to go to like Japan and Australia so many times. Like just that as a whole thing, just that I got to like see. I'm just so grateful that I got to like see the world in my 20s. Like that's kind of what I'm like proudest of achieving.
So yeah, dude, is there anything else you want to add? You know, you want to plug your tour dates, social medias? Where can everyone find you?
I'm gonna plug my TikTok, because I literally hate myself for saying that, but it's funny. So yeah, it's Ben Langfordbiss on all socials, but especially go and help me out on the TikTok algorithm, because I'm new there.
Fabulous.
And yeah, stream me on Spotify if you so please. If you don't, go and listen to like Nick Cave or something. It's just like a better version of me. So yeah, that's my sign off message.
Dude, thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
This is Bronnie on KCC Live. Follow Bronnie everywhere at Bronnie Music.